Hey everyone, that's Amy.
And that's Olivia. And this
And
is
this is Girls
Girls
Gone
Gone Spooky,
Spooky.
episode
Ooh.
5.
Episode 5.
So much
Cinco.
fun. I know.
Yes, I'm stoked. And we're doing a lot of like Mexican origin things tonight. Topics. I'm
Yes,
excited. These are some good
same.
ones.
I actually haven't even heard of yours that you're talking about today before you
Yeah,
mentioned it.
I feel like I think if I had grown up in a Mexican household, it would feel a lot scarier to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like some of the stories I've heard read out on other podcasts have been very scary. And I have some like, it's very creepy, but
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time wrapping my head around it, I think. So it feels more folkloric than,
Reality
real. Yeah,
potential.
exactly. So
Okay.
should I dive in?
Yes, let's jump in.
Okay, so I am covering La Lechuza, which means owl, correct?
I think so, but the word that I've heard for owl is buo. But maybe
Oh,
that's like
okay.
slang. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, there's possible there are different words for it, I
I'm
suppose. But
certain.
so pulling from a few different sources tonight, but I'm going to start with scarymommy.com, who actually has a really comprehensive overview of La Lechuza. So
Interesting.
the story of La Lechuza started centuries ago, and the origins are actually relatively unknown. People aren't quite sure when the legend started or was created, but it's rooted in Mexican and Texano folklore. Legend has it the Lechuza was a witch who was exposed for practicing the devil's magic. The
Oh,
townsfolk were not happy with that, so they murdered her.
oh
Seems
boy.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little harsh, but
Mm-hmm.
okay. So to exact her revenge, she came back as a creepy bird lady, basically. So it
My
is
favorite.
it is usually a massive owl. So the description varies a little bit, but it's an owl with a witch like head or witch face. Well,
It's
and by
gotta
witch I
be.
mean woman. It's a woman. Like
That
what
can't
does
be
a
pretty.
witch look like? Yeah,
Yeah.
not good. So some people or some legends say describe it as this like massive bird, like human sized, but with a
Ew.
bird body. Seems kind of funny the way I'm describing it, but I
Uh-huh.
think it would be terrifying to encounter.
Definitely.
But yeah, but with a woman's face and hair usually. So
That
that's
makes it even funnier.
like someone put a
A
mask
wig
and
on an
wig on
owl.
an owl. I'm sure we can find a video on the depths of YouTube of a pet
Uh-huh.
owl with a wig on. And I will be looking for that to
Yeah,
post on our
absolutely.
Instagram. Okay, but it's scary. So
Okay.
focus.
Okay.
Okay, so that is one origin story. There are some others. Other origin stories say that they like basically it stemmed from um, Native Americans in Mesoamerica when the Spaniards came and colonized that area. That
Hmm.
there was this like huge clash of cultures and belief systems, and
Mm-hmm.
so obviously like native culture and spirituality versus Christianity from Spain. But the thing to note is that like Christianity at that time was, I mean, it's still a little dicey
Yeah.
today
A little bit.
sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but it was really quite brutal, like a lot of
Mm.
focus on the Old Testament and like just
Yeah.
brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Not great towards women in particular,
Uh-huh.
and definitely any just sniff of a whiff of witchcraft and like you dead.
Yeah.
So they believe that it probably stemmed from a clash between native spirituality and the Spanish colonizers coming in and basically like forcing Christianity on the natives. And it kind of created this like, I don't know, like I don't want to say like magical realism, because that's not that takes away the actual reality of it for
Right.
the people who believe in the legend. But
Mhm.
some mix of like Christianity and native spirituality. So basically at the time, once the colonizers basically like completely dominated the native peoples in on their own land, they kind of like rewrote the narrative around a lot of animals, especially so cats, owls, any kind of nocturnal animal. They basically labeled as not necessarily being demonic, but being associated
Oh,
with Satan or evil in a way, because like things done at night are
yeah.
evil and
Evil.
dark by nature. Whereas
Interesting.
the natives believed that they were spiritual guides, which is like such a lovely way
Yeah.
to think about it.
Total
But
opposite.
yeah, the Spanish were like, fuck that.
No.
So devil worship. So that's kind of the connection with owls specifically. And Amy, you know this, but for anyone listening, I'm obsessed with owls. They're my favorite animal. I think they're so dope. They're so cool. They're predators, but they're so like cute and soft, and they're
Uh-huh.
just awesome. So kind of weird cognitive dissonance for me, because if I were to see an owl in the wild, I'd be like, oh my god.
I'm so
But
excited.
then this is literally saying like it's an omen for death.
Yeah.
So let's get into that.
Okay.
So what exactly is La Lechuza? Like I said, her description varies. Some describe her or the creature as a 7-foot tall
Whoa.
bird woman with a 15-foot wingspan and the face of an
Whoa.
old woman, or like a crone.
Hmm.
Others describe it as just a regular sized owl, usually still with the face of a woman though. So like there's a woman or a crone's face like on the owl despite the size.
Hmm.
She only comes out at night typically. She flies through the air, perches on trees, and is basically looking to hunt things to kill, like an
Hmm.
owl, but usually those things are people.
People. Hmm.
So, yeah. So typically, there are a few different ways she'll make herself known. One is whistling like a person, like a human whistle. And the
Yeah.
other is disguising her voice as a baby and crying
Oh.
outside your door. So it seems to me like she kind of targets women,
Mhm.
but a lot of the legends say that she actually has like a deep hatred for men specifically.
Huh.
So that's where like a lot of the origin stories kind of branch off, because some say
Yeah.
that she was murdered by her lover and that she came back with this like dark magic to exact her revenge and all of that. And then others say that her children were murdered by a man, and so she's coming back to, avenge their deaths. So there are a lot of kind of very similar but a little bit contrary origin stories for her. The other thing she'll do is like scratch on windows or the roof, or scratch on doors, and basically try to get you to open a window to check to see what's outside. And then when you do, she'll like attack you, like peck you, scratch your face, like do anything to, hurt you. And it said that she can literally carry away a full-grown man in her talons, regardless of the size, whether she's owl sized or 7 feet tall. So basically like the Yao Ming of bird women.
She's powerful.
She's very powerful. She likes to run people off the road. She allegedly can kill car batteries. So she comes a lot when you're like driving at night on like a quiet road where there's nobody really around. So yikes.
Is this very similar to the Skinwalker stories?
A little bit, but there's not as much emphasis on like wide open spaces. She usually kind of comes to you. Like she's going to come to populated areas, but I think what's interesting is like this is where it gets a little more targeted. So there's like the basis of the legend is that she, or it, not really sure, what are her pronouns? I don't know. But basically she comes to places to hunt for people, but then she's also seen as a really bad omen. So if you see her, it's almost like some almost view her as like a warning sign. So there was one story I listened to an NPR like really quick podcast that was called Beware the Witch Owl. And they interviewed a Mexican rancher, and he said he would regularly see these like beautiful white barn owls flying overhead, but one day one swooped down and attacked him. And he was out in the field like with his dog on the ranch, and like, you know, kind of batted it away, and then, you know, called the dog to come inside with him. So they both go inside, the dog follows. And he's like trying to get the dog to come inside to eat dinner, and the dog followed him but did not want to eat. So he just like wouldn't fully come inside. He kind of wouldn't move, and hours later he died.
Oh.
So the dog, not the rancher.
Yeah. Oh.
But so, I mean, obviously because they were interviewing him, but very sad. And that's a really common theme in a lot of these stories, that, you know, she's an omen for a death in the family, or some kind of like bad thing is coming your way, basically. Some believe too that he kind of explained that, at least the legend, as he understands it, that they're kind of two different things. So it's either that the owl is actually a witch, or some witch is controlling the owl to like do its bidding. Mm-hmm. But I think he seemed to believe more in the former theory, because he said you have to pray, like in order to fight back. You pray until La Lechuza falls from its perch, and then you tie its feet together, and come morning, it'll have morphed from bird to witch, and you'll have the actual witch lying there with her feet tied together. So that's creepy, mm-hmm. and also interesting. But yeah, so just very, very interesting. And I think, like I said before, there's no solid origin story. Clearly, there's a lot of conflicting ideas. But they say, yeah, it's come from around the time, even before the time of the conquistadors. And some even claim as far back as like biblical times. So very hard to pinpoint. Most people shrug it off as a campfire story, but I know one thing they mentioned on the NPR podcast was interesting and totally understandable, is like, as a Mexican American, especially, that like these legends have to be kept alive, because they're, you know, a part of their culture, a part of their history, and passed down for such a long time as cautionary tales for the most part. But it's just kind of interesting. So a couple actual stories. So one that's very famous is Robstown. So Robstown, Texas is in South Texas. Back in 1975, the Robstown, Texas police were getting calls of all sorts from people calling them to report a massive bird in a wooded area between Vasquez Street and Rab Road. Like all within this like very concentrated area, many, many calls with slightly different descriptions, but all birds. Some said it was regular size. Some said it was the size of a human. Some claimed it had a man's face. Some said a woman's. But regardless, they had a bunch of news trucks that came, because of course they're like, we're having these crazy reports. What is this? And then it just stopped. The calls just stopped as soon as all the media arrived. And so the kids of the town actually basically put together like a dummy that was like a scarecrow with the body of a bird and like the face of like a mannequin, basically, and like left it outside the police station as like, haha, what a joke. And then shortly thereafter, other South Texas communities of Brownsville and San Benito started reporting those same things, so those same calls. So it's one of those things where it's like, is this just like mass hysteria kind of thing? Right. But also very odd. Like, why would people start making those calls in the first place, I guess? Yeah. It just seems kind of unexplained. Out of the blue. But yeah. So a couple other stories to share. So this is from a Redditor. Someone pulled together a few stories on thoughtcatalog.com. So they say, I swear on my life that I saw that bird. I saw it when I was about 9 or 10. I lived south of San Antonio along 35 between two little towns called Von Ormy and Lytle. I was at home waiting for my dad to get home from work. I was on the couch watching SpongeBob.
Classic.
Shout out to the millennials.
Uh-huh.
It was a bit late. The sun had set maybe an hour or so before, but the moon was full and lit everything enough so you could see like a dim light was on. My grandma's house was on the same plot of land about a few hundred yards in front of my house. I looked out the window because I saw movement near her back door. I thought maybe my dad had stopped by there first and was walking home. I ran outside on the front porch to wave at him and yell hello, but it wasn't my dad that I saw up there. I saw this massive bird. I mean, this thing had to be the size of Big Bird from Sesame Street. Much bigger than a hawk or any other bird I'd seen. It was sitting on the picnic table in my grandma's yard and it was looking at me. I froze, but didn't feel too scared at the time. It was just really interesting to see such a giant bird right outside my house.
Yeah.
And it was jet black. All I could see was the outline of it and the eyes shining in the moonlight. I slowly went back inside and peeked at it through the window on the front door. I was just so amazed by it. I'd never seen anything like it. We'd stared at each other for a few minutes like this, and suddenly it spread its wings and flew away. I told my dad about it when he got home. And he laughed it off. But I told my grandma the next morning while eating breakfast, and she lost it. She started saying prayers and rubbing eggs on me and stuff. And then she told the story of La Lechuza, which I'd never heard before. It sent shivers down my spine knowing that it was staring at me so intensely. After thinking about it for a few days, though, I started to wonder if maybe it wasn't there to hurt me, but to warn me about something. Sure enough, a few weeks later, a huge storm came through. There was a funnel cloud nearby, but it never actually touched down. The winds did do a lot of damage to my house, but my grandma's was completely untouched. And that picnic table was the only piece of furniture outside that wasn't blown away.
Whoa. Weird.
Which kind of brings us back to a little more of the description about her, that she has the power to... She's super strong, for one, like I said, like can carry a full man in her talons. She also can control the weather, allegedly. They can create thunderstorms out of nowhere. So it's believed that if there's like a storm that's not in the forecast, like it just comes out of the blue, which happens quite a bit in Texas in particular, that it's probably her. She's like conjuring a storm. Sometimes to do bad things, but also sometimes seemingly to warn us about something. So the other story, also from South Texas, I live in South Texas and I've been researching on La Lechuza tonight. I was driving back to town and a huge white owl flew in front of my truck. I would say it was a coincidence, but this is the third time in 3 weeks that this has happened to me. Twice coming back from out of town and once of midnight getting out of work. I've been searching for sites on common birds to this region, and the owls in this part of Texas don't come close to the bright white color and size of the owls I have almost crashed into as they've flown in front of my windshield. I did not believe in this Mexican urban legend, but after getting hexed in Panama, definitely want to know more about that. I know anything is possible. Yeah. Most people do not survive an encounter with La Lechuza, so your best bet is to run away from whistling or crying noises you hear at night and not travel on deserted roads after dark.
Ooh,
which
creepy.
Leads me to the last piece of what to do and not do if you run into her.
That's good
so
to know.
You can get rid of her. She cannot stand salt. So similar to witches, like
Hocus Pocus.
any Hocus Pocus fans. My literal favorite movie of all time.
Major fan.
Was a clever little white witch. So definitely carry salt. And they say to curse at her, like cuss. She really doesn't like that. It won't necessarily get rid of her, at least not permanently, but she usually will go away. They say to absolutely not shoot at her for some reason. Legend says that if you try to shoot her, you'll end up dead instead. How it works, who knows? But that's the deal. A lot of other stories do talk about seeing her and then there being a death in the family. There's like a lot of those stories. So I would guess, and this is purely speculation, that that's probably where it came from. That, there's this like Christian fueled kind of bias against owls and other nighttime animals, and lots of deaths because they brought a lot of disease when they came to the Americas, and probably somehow created a connection like that kind of pulled in some of the like witchcraft from Navajo culture and their hatred for witchcraft and devilry and all of that. And
Yeah.
out came La
La
Lechuza, which
Lechuza.
has terrified Mexican and Mexican American families for centuries, apparently.
Wow.
So don't shoot her, carry salt,
Yeah.
cuss at her, full sailor mouth on this creepy 7-foot
Owl woman
bird lady.
Wow.
I would really not like that.
No, I wouldn't either at all.
That's a no thank you for sure.
Another no thank you. Yet another
no thank you. That's La Lechuza.
So interesting. There's a lot of parallels between that and what I'm about to talk about. But I just had a flashback to a time at Cal Poly. I don't know if you were with us, but we were walking home after a party. I was probably very drunk or something. But still, I'm pretty sure both Kayla and I saw this gigantic white bird. And I don't know about the owl population in SLO or what other kind of bird that could be.
Yeah.
But maybe it was La Lechuza.
That triggered a memory for me too. Not a direct memory, but a story I read or a recollection I read from someone who had this, like, there was this, I think they're called like great herons or giant herons or something like that, like massive white birds. They're usually by water sources. So, I mean, I guess the creek in Cal Poly in the canyon, but the story I read was actually quite creepy because it also, I guess, in some cultures can be a very bad omen, especially if you see one repeatedly. I think repeatedly, so I don't think
just the one-off.
But just to clear that up, but yeah, maybe that, but also maybe you saw La Lechuza.
I mean, who knows? It wasn't wearing a wig, so we may never know.
God. That is funny. Just
I can't wait to look up pictures of her.
I know. They're actually kind of scary. Like in the articles I was reading, you're not going to be laughing at those photos. Yeah, I'll find a funny one though to lighten the mood. I'll post it on Instagram.
Perfect. Well, shall we talk about La Llorona? Okay. So, La Llorona is also a very old story, about 500 years, they say.
Whoa.
And La Llorona translates from Spanish into weeping woman, wailing woman, crying woman, etc. And I first heard of this story in my elementary school, which, as you know, was an English and Spanish bilingual school, where about half of our student population was Latinx, primarily from Mexico, but also some other Central American countries. And I don't remember who told us this story, but it definitely was kind of like a boogeyman type thing for us, because the version that we were told was like a message that you had to behave or not disobey your parents or teachers, or La Llorona might get you. So the version that we were told was that La Llorona was a woman who killed her children by drowning them in a river. And afterward, she was totally, scary. She was overcome with her guilt and her grief, so she killed herself. But after her death, she came back as a crying, wailing spirit, kind of like a banshee, in white robes, who would appear near bodies of water, especially rivers, looking for her children. And if she came upon unruly children who were misbehaving or disobeying their parents or out by themselves, she might snatch them. So that's I know. That's how. So that's like the version that is used to discipline children. Like, don't do that, or La Llorona might come get you.
That gives me goosebumps. I don't like that.
I know. I remember being told that story and then just thinking that La Llorona was around every corner.
Oh,
even
I'm
though
sure.
I wasn't misbehaving or anything, but I just couldn't get her out of my head for a while.
Oh, yeah. Mm-mm.
So,
No, no thanks.
yeah. But even after knowing that for so long, I never knew what the origin was or
Mm,
even why she drowned her kids in the first place.
yeah.
And of course, like with La Lechuza, there are a lot of different variations, but some of them are rooted in like real history, quote unquote, real, and
Mhm.
including that our current conception of La Llorona is based on an Aztec goddess whose name is Coatlicue, maybe. Hopefully that's the right pronunciation.
It sounds beautiful, so even if
I
it's wrong.
Okay, perfect. We'll go with that.
Well done.
Thank you. And she was supposedly heard weeping for her Aztec children, and in that case, I think it's the whole Aztec empire, on
Yeah.
the eve of the Spanish conquest. And then similarly, others have said that La Llorona is actually La Malinche, who is a real historical figure, and she was the woman who translated and advised Cortez during his conquest of Mexico.
Whoa.
Yes, and they say that she became La Lechuza both because the Aztec Empire fell, and was ruined, but also she bore Cortez's child, but he
Uh,
quickly replaced her with another wife and married her off to somebody else. So she was heard crying and wailing over that happening. And then I guess that evolved to become maybe the origin of La
yeah.
Llorona. But then still others say that
Mhm.
she's the ghost of a poor woman who killed her children either by stabbing or drowning them. And there are like many variations of this. So the first one said she did that in order to win the affection of a wealthy man. Um, Others say that she was already married to a wealthy man, but he was doting on their children too much and not on her, so she killed them.
Ooh.
Yeah. Another says that she saw her husband with another woman and she murdered their children in a rage. And yet another said that her husband was going to leave her for another woman and she killed her children so that the new woman wouldn't become their mother. So, in all of these versions, she immediately regrets what she's done, and upon her death, she'll end up in purgatory, doomed to look for her children for eternity. So, yeah, and this was very interesting to me, and it actually surprisingly came from Wikipedia, but
Mhm.
it was cited by a different source, so
Okay.
it's not just Wikipedia, but
Not just someone named
no,
Todd,
just
like
making
typing
it up.
away.
Yeah, exactly. Um, this said that the mother archetype of La Llorona has been tied to the patriarchal expectations of women in Mexican and Mexican American cultures. So, social critics often consider Mexican and Mexican American culture to enforce patriarchal standards onto women, such as being defined by their roles as a mother. So, La Llorona's failing to be a good mother or even killing her own children is like a reflection of this, I guess, is what he's arguing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. And as you were reading your story, I realized I should have checked Reddit to see if there were any sightings of her, but I didn't do that. So maybe we'll have to do a follow up. But
Yeah. I wonder because I mean, there's like white women in white seem to be such a theme
mm-hmm.
in a lot of legends, and
Yeah.
La Lechuza aside for a moment because that feels a little bit different, but I feel
Mm-hmm.
like there are so many legends and even just like horror movies like
Yeah.
filmed based on a
Of
woman in
white.
white,
Yeah.
even like Haunting of Bly Manor, like
Mm-hmm.
Lady in the Lake. I
Mm-hmm.
think she's in white. Like it's
Yeah.
such a common trope, it seems,
Mm-hmm.
and there definitely seems to be some social commentary included on that, like
Yeah.
white being
Pure.
representative of, innocence and purity and
Mhm.
virginity and all of those things.
Yeah.
But typically, the stories behind them or the personas behind them are none of those things.
Yeah.
Like, they're
They're
usually
evil.
evil.
Yeah. Right.
So maybe it's like pretending to be like wolf in sheep's clothing kind of thing.
Yeah. Could be. But I did read that one of these articles said that she's wearing white because that's the color of the clothes that they were buried in traditionally. So
Oh,
then when she comes
okay.
back,
Yeah.
they're still wearing white. But
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that could apply to other things as well. So,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I wonder too, because with all of those different legends, I mean, all of those scenarios are plausible, and
mhm,
like probably historically have happened at one
right.
point.
Yeah.
So part of me wonders too, is La Llorona one woman, or is it a
Many
bunch
women.
of women, yeah,
Hmm.
who've done something similar?
Yeah.
Um, so is the idea that, at least like in your understanding when you were in elementary school, when she snatches kids, in theory, does she then drown them? Or
Yeah. My interpretation was that she would just like kidnap them basically because I think
mm,
one of these stories also said that in order for her to get out of purgatory, she would have to find her children. But because her
oh,
children were the ones that were drowned, she's never going to find them.
right.
So I guess she would try to take real children, living children, and try to pass them off as
Oh,
her own.
I see.
So,
That's like the world's worst escape room setup.
yeah. Yeah. A little
You're
too
in purgatory till you
creepy.
find your
Yeah.
kids that you murdered.
Oh, God.
Yikes.
Oh,
Sorry, that
so
took a dark
sad.
turn.
No, but it's a sad story.
It is
I,
a sad story
yeah.
and creepy as hell.
Yeah,
The
very.
idea, I think, of all of those, they came out with a movie. They made a movie
Yeah.
about it. I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago, maybe,
Mhm.
literally titled La
La
Llorona.
Llorona. Yeah.
I haven't seen it, so I should
Hmm.
watch it. It'll be homework.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure, based on the teasers that I saw, or the trailers that I saw, that the basis was that she killed the kids because the husband was giving them too much attention,
Hmm.
which really is
Yeah.
definitely the scariest of all of those,
Hmm.
because that implies that she was actually evil in life as
Yeah.
well, not
Right.
just tortured by this horrible deed she did.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Jealous woman. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That makes it a lot scarier.
Yeah.
The others are like it
I'm,
was impulse, but
yeah.
that one is kind of like not premeditated, but it has a clearer
But
motive.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it was like hatred for another adult is one thing, but like
Uh-huh.
hatred for a child, like
Especially
a
your
ch-
own.
yeah, that just seems
Yeah.
unimaginable, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah. Agreed. But
Unless you have like an omen child, and then maybe it feels differently.
yeah, creepy demon child, that
Yeah,
then you have the
not
right to
yeah,
hate
that
them.
not so much. Yeah, you're like, mm-mm.
The rules don't apply there.
No rules. Yeah, all bets are off at that point. Were there any other stories or like legends that you heard when you were in elementary school, or was that like the main cautionary tale?
I think that was the main one. I don't remember any others. I remember hearing about La Katrina,
Mm.
who I don't remember her story, so maybe we could follow up on
Mm.
that too. But
Yeah.
she's, when you see like Day of the Dead images of the woman
Mhm.
skeleton with like the
Yeah.
big hat, that's
Yeah.
her. That's La Katrina.
Oh.
So we could find out more about her for next
Oh
time.
yeah. That's interesting. She seems beautiful. I feel like she'd have a good backstory.
Yeah, I don't think
Hopefully
she's
a not
very.
evil one.
Yeah, I think she's more like, I don't know, celebration of death I mean,
Hmm.
that sounds bad, but like,
Well, not
just
really though.
facing
I
the
mean,
reality of it being part
yeah,
of our lives,
yeah.
or end
Oh,
of
that's
lives.
interesting.
So,
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the living process.
true.
None of us are making it out of here alive.
No.
So,
Yeah, no, we're not. But
and in the meantime, avoid huge bird women and
any woman
don't get
dressed in white
snatched.
robes,
Yeah. Nope.
it's just
No.
whether she's ghostly or
Mm-mm.
not, maybe just
No.
avoid that.
Not down. Not down. Yeah. So I need to watch. I'm gonna watch La Llorona. I'm going to see the new. This is not an ad, but I'm going to see the new Halloween movie, Halloween Kills, on Sunday.
Oh,
And I'm going with a couple friends, and they were like, "Let's go, let's see it in what they call the the D box." I don't, I hate even saying that because it sounds like D bags a
yeah.
little bit, but and now I've just said that, so sorry.
Nope.
But apparently it's this like it's literally if you look at a map of the seating chart, it's like 2 or 3 rows within a 200 seat theater, and it's one of the theaters where like the chairs shake with the
Vibrate. Oh,
movie. Mm-hmm.
cool.
And so, which is going to be so scary when it's like Mike Myers on the screen.
Yeah.
So I also need to rewatch the original Halloween movie. I think I might do that. I might do that tonight. And
Ooh.
scare the
Yeah.
piss out of myself unnecessarily. Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see the new one and in theaters because obviously I haven't seen the original in theaters. It came out
so long
before I was born.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna be good.
Let me know how it is.
I definitely will.
You know that I'm not going to see it.
I was gonna say why.
I mean, I'm still haunted by Paranormal Activity 3 that you forced me to watch.
Sorry.
If I close my eyes, I can still visualize it like clear as day.
Oh, shit. I'm so sorry. I love those movies. I love them. God. I think I saw the second one in theaters, or maybe it was the fourth one. There are a lot of them.
Yeah, there really are. Too many.
Do you remember the plot from the third one?
Let's see. It's the spirit is named Toby, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is weird.
God.
But it's kind of
like such a like human name. Yeah. Hey, Toby.
From The Office.
Hey, Steve.
Toby.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I think
not like Balthazar, like something scarier.
Yeah. I know. I think that's the one where things kind of come to a head and they like end up killing the dad. It's like when he folds in half backwards.
Oh, and shit.
You know my thing with bones cracking too.
Yeah.
So it's like the perfect
Amy
form.
Cannot stand the sound of like cracking knuckles. And of course, all of the roommates she ever lived with, myself included, love cracking our knuckles, cracking our backs, cracking our necks. I crack my hips, like so gross. And she just looks like she's gonna pass out. So we're watching this movie, and it was the first time I'd ever watched it too. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't know it was coming. If I knew it was coming, I would have warned you and been like, okay, we're gonna mute it.
Yep.
But, yeah, he nice. Like does like a really aggressive accentuated backbend. We'll call it that. And it snaps his back.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it's not great. No. It's not great. It's not great.
No.
Oh, so sorry. I'm so sorry I did that to you. Also, like, spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, it's like ancient.
It's so old. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, that's your fault.
Yeah, exactly. I also remember watching Blair Witch Project with you and forcing myself to fall asleep. And I succeeded, so I didn't have to see it.
Well, we also watched that, I think, was it shortly after or shortly before you guys had that really creepy experience out near
Ooh,
that parking lot?
yeah. Might have been after. No, it probably was before because we probably
I
wouldn't
feel
have
like there's
watched that
no way we
if
would
it
have
was
watched it.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for context, there was this guy who was, so this was also in Poly Canyon Village, which we've talked about before on previous episodes, where we lived our sophomore year of college or second year. And there was, yeah, like there was like a sketch of him, like no one had photos, but he basically like tried to attack someone at knife point in one of the parking lots attached to where we lived. But if you like walked, and again, it was sort of detached from the rest of campus.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like walked around this driveway and then you go down these stairs and then turn right, there's this like trail kind of pathway, I guess, like
Yeah.
a dirt pathway onto like, it's kind of pretty in the daytime, I think.
Yeah.
It's like a garden pathway. And I think it leads out to one of the like agricultural units, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It comes out near like the Arboretum, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who were you out there with? Was it you and Lauren?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just the two of you?
I think it was just the two of us. Yeah.
And what happened?
Well, I think I blocked this out because I remember being so scared.
Yeah,
And,
understandably, it was terrifying.
but yeah, I'm going to have to ask her because I think that it was just like we were there by ourselves for whatever reason. And I think we saw someone who looked like this person. And I don't, yeah, I'm going to have to like refresh my memory because I've totally
I remember
blocked
what
this
you
out.
told me.
What was it?
So basically, you guys were like sitting out there. I don't know, you brought like tea or wine or something out there just to like get away from the apartment and just like, you know, our little like
Stuff.
weird
Yeah.
condo community.
Uh-huh.
And you guys went out there, and I want to say it may have been, I think it was kind of light, like there, like the moon was full or nearly full or something.
Yeah.
So you guys said
I
you
can-
could see
I can
down
picture it.
the trail. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were sitting at the very end, like backed up into the corner of the fence. So both sitting there, if you were to look left, you'd see the exit back up to the driveway. And if you look straight ahead, it's just like a path, a dirt path.
Mhm.
And the fence is a wooden fence along the right side with these like pretty big wooden square, I don't even, like pillar things, I guess. Like, I don't even know what those are called, but the support beams, like the big ones.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there, they're chatting, and one of you said that you looked up and you were like, doesn't that, like right by that pillar, doesn't that look like a person is standing there?
Uh-huh.
And the other one looked up, and then he saw you, I think, looking. And so he started to walk towards you
Yeah.
guys. And I think he was like maybe 50 feet away.
Mhm.
And so you were like, oh, fuck, let's go.
Yeah.
And you guys ran up
Mhm.
the steps, crossed the driveway. And I don't know who turned back to look, but he was running after you up the
Yeah.
steps. And then you guys lost him after that.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
and it was literally across the street from the parking lot where this woman was like held up at knife point.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
very, very, very creepy. Like,
Yeah.
not just creepy, that's scary. Like, that's really scary.
Yes. I can again close my eyes and visualize that night. Like I couldn't picture the man anymore or like even what happened. But yeah, I know exactly where we were.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was scary. That was a weird place that year, I guess. So much happened.
Yeah, we had
there.
some weird experiences there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what
you'd think more creepy stuff would have happened out in like Architecture Graveyard, and yet that felt like the safest place.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I walked out there by myself a few times in the dark, like to meet you guys up there. So
yeah, I know.
What an irresponsible thing to do, but it felt
I know
fun.
in hindsight. In hindsight, we did plenty of irresponsible things, but we survived. So, you know,
here we are.
It's all good.
Now we have the stories.
Now we have this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly why we're here.
Yeah, that's why we made it. Our purpose.
Exactly.
Sorry, I cut you off. You were going to say you wonder what.
Oh, I don't think it was important.
It's gone.
It's
It's
already
gone.
gone.
I stole it.
Yep,
I snatched it out of your mind.
it is gone.
Like La Llorona
Yes.
snatches children.
Yep, you snatched my mind.
What are you going to do for Halloween?
Oh, I don't know yet. I don't have a costume. Yes, I have not decided. What are your plans?
I don't have any. I don't have a costume either, and I don't have plans.
We've still got time.
We'll see.
Yeah.
They're doing a screening of there's a place relatively near to my condo called Ontario Place.
Mhm.
That's like just like an outdoor I guess like performance venue usually, but they're doing a drive-in. That's like a spooky drive-in. So I don't know if like people come up to the car window and like bang on it to scare you or something, but there's doing screenings of Goosebumps and
Cool.
also my all-time favorite, Scream.
Oh.
So I think I'm going to go and see that at some point that weekend, but I don't know what day.
Fun.
So yeah, I'm very excited for that. I also just got a poster that has Ghostface and he's on the phone, like on a bed, and it has a little speech bubble that says, "No, you hang up."
How funny.
So that's going to get hung up in my living room very soon. Halloween year round.
I love that. Yes, forever.
So you hang up. I'm just picturing Drew Barrymore like crying and snotting on the other side. Oh God.
Do you like the Scary Movie series? That's what it's called, right? Scary Movies?
Yeah, Scary Movie. I don't even think I've seen them all. I think I saw the first one. Yeah, I mean, I just love Scream because it's like the original parody on a horror movie that's also still a little scary. Like you still get the jump scare kind of thing with that. And it's not gory in a believable way, but it's gory.
Yeah.
They're coming out with a new one actually. And
I feel like
Nev
they're
Campbell's going to be in it still. Oh, 100%. It's going to be so scary now.
Yeah.
But Nev Campbell is a vampire. That woman has not aged a day.
Really?
From the first one. Someone did like a compilation of, because she always gets a call. And so it's like her looking stricken, holding her cell phone up to her ear. Yeah. And it was like, someone was like, this woman's face is so snatched still. Like, how?
Looks the same. It's her and Paul.
Literally the same. Yeah. Oh my God. And also Pharrell.
Yeah. What?
Unreal vampire. He's like reverse aging.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're definitely bathing in the blood of virgins or some
perfect
weird
skin.
Illuminati shit.
Yeah. Right. Speaking of Illuminati, I'm like, 15 years behind on this, but I'm finally reading the Da Vinci Code and other books that he's written.
Dan Brown.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
good.
Devoured Da Vinci Code. Like I couldn't.
It was so good, right?
Yeah. And I had never seen the movie either, but then I watched the movie and was extremely disappointed.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Oh, I loved the movie.
It was so different from the book, and I felt
it was different.
They made the main female character really annoying, like typical. Well, they made her annoying. Where in the book, she was like kind of the star. So
yeah,
I don't know. But the Illuminati thing, I'm reading Angels and Demons now. And that's so.
I didn't read any of the others, but I did watch all of the movies because I'm lazy.
No.
Funny though with Da Vinci Code, when I went to get it out at the library, like all of the main copies were gone, but what they did have was a gigantic illustrated version that included the art printed in the margins. It was very cool, but imagine me like 15 sitting in bed with this giant book that was probably like 2.5 feet across, fully opened.
Like an atlas.
Huge. Literally, I looked like I was like, oh, let me take out my encyclopedia before I go to bed. Like flipping these massive pages like a tome. I was like, okay. But it was excellent. And it was cool to see the art. So, win-win.
Very cool. Makes me want to
So
go look at
cool.
that art so much
I know.
in
IRL
person. Yeah, in
with your own
person.
eyeballs, your own
Yes,
eye
my
box.
own two eyes. Especially
My
the Last
own two
Supper.
eyes.
I want to
Yeah.
see that. Cause
It's so clever. It's so,
Mhm.
just the story is just so well manipulated,
Yes, exactly.
I love it.
Same.
All right. Should we wrap it up?
Yes, let's.
Thank you for tuning in for Girls Guns Spooky. Stay spooky. And also thanks for hanging in through our random conversation at the end.
We
If
appreciate
you
it.
made it this far.
Yeah.
TBD on next week's topics. We will be deciding that
Mhm.
shortly. But follow us on Instagram and follow our Facebook page, Girls Gone Spooky. It's the handle for both. And please send us your stories. We want to hear stories from you
Yes.
guys. I want
We
to
would love
read some of
it.
your stories that you want to share. So email us at girlsgonespooky@gmail.com. And we will see you guys next week.
Yes. Thank you guys. Stay spooky.
Thanks, everyone. Stay spooky. And
Here we
we're
go.
live.
Should I start?
And we're live.
Should we switch it up?
Yeah, let's switch it up.
We could keep it the same.
Did I go first last time?
No.
Oh, no, you did shamans first.
Yes. I was talking about our intro. I could say,
oh.
Hey, I'm Amy.
Yeah,
Hello?
you go first. You go
Hello?
first. Hello?
It's Amy.
Yeah, you go first. You go first.
Okay. Okay, ready?
Yes.
Hi, this is Amy.